So I think you know that I love being a foreigner, playing badminton in China. China has such a welcoming, open community. It's really, really fun, and I'm really grateful. But there can be some communication problems from time to time. So today I want to tell you about two of the funniest or weirdest or most memorable communication problems with badminton that I've had. So if you don't know, I'm Badminton Becky, an American living and playing badminton in China. I started playing badminton about 9 years ago, I guess. Coach speaks Chinese. My partner and now, life partner, my boyfriend, he only speaks Chinese. So for me, playing badminton is a whole Chinese world. And I have a Chinese name, Long Xiaobing. And I love being on the street because if I hear someone shout out, Becky, I know it's going to be a foreign friend or a student, because students don't know I can speak Chinese. But if I hear someone shout, Xiaobing, I know it's going to be a badminton friend. So I actually love that. I actually learned all the badminton vocabulary in Chinese. I was actually calling smashes, I call them kills in some of my very first videos because I had no idea. Because in Chinese, it translates to kill. It doesn't translate to smash. So in English, I was saying kill. But of course, there have been plenty of miscommunications or, luckily it's a sport, so you don't have to understand every single word. But there was one time when me and my coach were playing a game and definite miscommunication. So we were playing against people. It was me and my coach, so it was a bit of a training game. And I hit something into the net and I turned to talk to my coach about it. And he stopped me, he interrupted me and he said, no, ni meo, you have no something. And I didn't understand what the something was. And I go, okay. I thought it was a technique, you didn't have the proper footwork or you didn't have the proper, hand movements or whatever. So I was like, okay. But he wasn't teaching me what I did wrong. Usually when he's like, oh, your foot was wrong, he'll do a little sample step. And he was like, no. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, no. You don't have blah, blah. And I was like, okay, can I learn it? That's what I said. I said, can I learn it? And he goes, no, you don't have blah, blah. And I was like, okay, can I buy it? And then he just kept saying it and he wasn't changing the words. My coach, my boyfriend and my Chinese friends, they kind of know my vocabulary level. They'll simplify words, they'll use words that they know I know. So I was kind of annoyed because he just kept saying this word again and again and again. And the word was li mao. So if you know Chinese, you know what that means. But I'm sitting there going, okay, what? I don't have it. Okay, can I buy it? I'll get it next time. Can you teach it to me? Whatever it is, how do I get it? And I was and he was just you don't have blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know what it is. And we rarely go to the phones and do translation, when we hang out here, because, it's so quick and we're playing badminton. But I kind of wanted to know what this was. The word was manners. He was telling me I had no manners because I hit it into the net. And instead of getting the shuttle and returning it to the opponents, flicking it up, I turned to him and I made our opponents go get the shuttle. And so he was telling me I had no manners. It was a good lesson in manners, but very frustrating. Then the second one, this wasn't a miscommunication. This one has to do with achi. Say bien.
播音.
So, Aja speaks Putonghua, Mandarin, Chinese, but he is from Taiwan. So he speaks Minanhua, which is also the local language of the local culture here in Xiamen. And it is his preferred language. I think it's his first language. And, when we're playing, he'll just kind of yell out swears in Minanhua. And so he would always say this word, boyin, is clearly not Mandarin Chinese, does not sound like Mandarin Chinese. So I've always assumed, honestly, for years, I've assumed it's Minanhua. He says it when the neighboring court's shuttle is in your court. So finally, this was honestly just a couple months ago, I said, what are you saying? In Minanhua, what are you saying? Boyin. What's boyin? What's boyin? And he was like, boyin. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And he was like, I'm speaking English. And I was like, what? Boyin? And then I realized he's saying ball in.
Ball in.
So that wasn't like, you know, a total miscommunication. It's not really that important because you just kind of point. He said, boy in, and he would just kind of point, and we'd see that, you know, someone's shuttle's in your court, and you'd wait a minute to serve. But honestly, for years, I thought he was speaking another language, and he was trying to speak English. So luckily, I don't have a ton of these embarrassing stories. I do have other super embarrassing stories living in China, like the time I went to the dumpling shop and kept walking in and saying, I want to go to bed. Because if you know Chinese, dumplings is shui jiao and go to bed is shui jiao. And I didn't know there was a tonal difference there. It was one of my first Chinese words that I learned by myself because there was a delicious dumpling shop that I didn't want to rely on friends or a student to help me go in my first year. And so I asked a friend to teach me how to say dumpling, and I didn't notice the tones. I didn't care about the tones. And I would walk in and I would say, I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed. And the shop owner would, no, I said it nice at first. The shop owner would be like, what? And it was literally a teeny tiny, like 2-seater dumpling shop. There was literally nothing else that I could have asked for. So I thought he was like messing with me. I thought he was being rude to the foreigner and, you know, just kind of wanted to make me feel uncomfortable. So, you know, in English, when we get mad, we use the like down tone, like, what do you mean? You know, we're not like, what do you mean? That's like questioning, right? So I was getting angrier and angrier and saying clearer and clearer, I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed. And he was like, what? And I was like, man, this guy's just messing with me. But, you know, so I have a lot of stories like that. But luckily, everyone in the badminton community has been quite kind. I've never formally studied the language, you know. I just did kind of random classes when I could. And I picked up here and there, and especially badminton. You know, I've never studied badminton Chinese. So, okay, end of story time today. Have a good time playing badminton, and I'll see you next time on the court. Bye.